Welcome back to Doc Shows You How. This time, Cloud Car made from some Easter eggs. This project just nagged at me till I did it, so here it is. Enjoy! So first off, we're going to start with an Easter egg, more or less regular size. Now, the one I happen to get here opens this way, which is moderately useful later, but ultimately it doesn't matter. Again, that's kind of more or less your regular Easter egg, full egg size. And you're also going to need one that is quite a bit smaller. So these, it is important that it opens short way around, because what we're going to do first is we're going to take the pointed edge here, and we're just going to glue this right on there. Okay, so we're just going to kind of find that nice kind of center line there, kind of spin it and make sure that it looks good from all your angles. Now it is going to slightly distort the smaller egg, but really you just want to make sure that it more or less is straight on there, tip to tip. And then once you're kind of happy with that, I'm going to take that glue and just put it right here in that little crease. And it can be ugly, it's okay. It's all going to get covered with putty in a minute anyway. So this time, if you're doing this project, use whatever putty you like. Last time I used something that was not strong enough to take the rigors of the paint process, so I'm stepping up to some glazing putty. This is going to be found in the automotive store or the automotive section of your big box store. So just put a nice thick layer on there. And then you can take, let's just set that down, take a putty knife, a craft stick, something, and just kind of straighten it out a bit. The downside to this is that it takes days to dry. So while we're doing that, we're going to move on. So while we wait for the other pieces to dry, this kind of engine housing here, the rough measurement in here is like 1 1/8 inch. So we're going to need two different things to get started here. We're going to need large popsicle sticks or craft sticks. You might need a few of those. And you're going to need some regular popsicle sticks there. So we're just going to go ahead and process these down to that size that everything's going to be, which again is 1 1/8. Okay, so we've got all these. What we're going to need now is 2 more of the wide ones. Okay, and so this is a pretty good glue. I'm sure there's betters out there, but I've had some good luck with this one. It's better than just the Elmer's glue for like kids in school and stuff, and it's not quite as strong as like wood glue, but it is a good glue for most hobby stuff. So I want to get just a nice even coat. Okay. And then this actually will kick off reasonably quick so that you can do the next step. So for just a couple of minutes, we're going to clamp this off. If the ends are not exactly perfect, that's fine. They're going to get trimmed off in a little bit anyway. But you might as well get this a good. Now that all these are dry. So we've got that midway point we marked before. So we're going to take and start gluing these right over that. And then just make sure that those fronts are all level with those fronts. And you put 2 on each side. Alright, so next, coffee stir sticks. So trimmed one edge off, so that's more or less straight there now. And this happens to be the same height to kind of finish off the box there. So we're actually going to cut just a little bit bigger than we need, like so. And we need 4 of them. So with this step, I'm just going to take, so this whole edge here is pretty smooth with all 4 of those little pieces. So put a drop there, grab one of the sides here, make it level with one or the other side. Of course there's going to be a little hangover, that's actually what we want here. And then here, nice drop. might as well just make those all face the same way. Why not just keep a little consistency? Okay, we don't actually need those, so we can take the scissors again and lay this side of your craft scissor against this thing you want it to be flush with, and then and as soon as you think you've got it far enough, get yourself a sponge and just kind of work it a little bit to smooth it all out, see if there's any hangover that's too much, and just kind of work that back now. So the next thing we're going to want to do is start adding just a little bit of detail to the outside. I just want to add something more interesting than a smooth surface so that there was something to grab paint and whatnot. I've got a small piece of this corrugation. This is some cord that I had bought some time back. And so like I had done on the prototype, I just want to add in 3 little stripes across the top of that panel. So we're just going to take a look there, count out 3, trim those off real quick. And more or less in the center there. Maybe that does some sort of heat venting or something. And then we're just going to mark where we need to cut this then, which will be about here. Yeah. And then being that this is paper and this is wood, again we're going to use that Glazing, that PVA-like glue. And so part of the thing about adding details and greeblies and all of that is that it gives your eye something interesting to look at. Catches shadow, gives a place for paint to pool on, to catch some detail, some light, and just texture kind of makes things feel more real. And then of course we're going to put one on the other side too. So now we're going to do this centerpiece all out of the same coffee stir sticks. And then so I'm going to give it just a little bit more than I want up high. Rather than making exactly flush, because it's going to have a piece that goes over the other one. So we're just going to eyeball this and kind of build as we go on this part. And then let's make sure that that cut is more straight. Okay. And now we're going to take and have that, but tied up against that. And we're going to glue it to that paper that we just put down there so it's flush with that. So I'm going to put a little in the center and just a little here on that end. Just if you're at all familiar with wood crafting and doing carpentry, that's what we might refer to as a butt joint. That one flush as we can. 90 degrees there, so we'll go ahead and go to the other end of that first piece. And the same thing, we're just going to kind of incrementally, piece at a time, finish up that engine housing. Alright, so now that it's all together, I'm just going to take a bit of sandpaper and just kind of knock down all the sharp edges here. Just a little. Not that it's going to cut you or anything, but just kind of smoothing it all out. I do have one of the pods that is just a little bit further right now. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to figure out, so here's the seam line on how it used to open, right? And we want more or less halfway through, which ironically is right close to where that putty line is. So we're going to need to cut a hole in this that's wide enough for that stick to stick through. So I'm not going to use the Dremel on screen. I will be back in a minute. Okay, so there's the hole. It doesn't go past too far in the back where I needed it to. And then I made it thick enough that we can make sure to get that crossbar in there. Now that's thicker than I really want it to be, this distance between the cab and the engine. Now you could go that large if you want, but I think it's more tight looking if it's at like 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to trim that off. Right, and then I dog-eared those edges just a little bit there. And so we're going to, yep, see that's quite a bit nicer. Okay, so these holes are just something we need to patch real quick, so we're going to take a little bit of baking soda and just kind of roll up on that a little bit. And with this one, we're just going to put a little drop around the edge of this. Just sprinkle some of that baking soda in and around that to help start making that patch. And just slowly, piece at a time, fill that hole with baking soda and super glue. Alright, so next we're going to use Rexlace. I was introduced to this from my wife. She used it when she worked in a children's summer camp. So it's kind of roundish on one side and kind of flat on the other side. And it's kind of plasticky. It's got a little bit of stretch on it. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have this be a piece that runs from here all the way around that seam of that egg, and then it gives a detail piece as it comes around to the front here all the way straight. So let's just go ahead and do a quick kind of measurement here, just kind of lay it in place and see how long it kind of might need to be. So about like so. Let's go just the smallest bit more just in case. And then we're going to just snip that. And then, again, that flat edge, we're just going to not really trying to stretch it, not really trying to warm it up. Just trying to make sure that this will glue down nice and easily. And of course, I might as well just do a quick, just make sure it has something to grab. I'm just going to put it kind of right over that ugly part, that little seam we just had to patch. Just run it. And then we're just going to slowly and incrementally do that same thing all the way along, making sure that we keep it as straight as you can and in line with this bar as you can. It doesn't have to be fast. It's worth taking your time to do this right. A little bit of Rexlace, and I think I'm going to decide this is going to be the left side of this vehicle, and kind of this line here, right where the putty goes from the two. I kind of want to put another one of these Rexlaces just to add that little bit more detail. Alright, so with this paper punch, if you've watched a bunch of my videos, I use these things a lot. It's an easy way to get a consistent, reliable shape. So I trimmed this down just to make it easy to work with. I did choose a piece that is more or less just one solid color. So what we would need is really only a half here. Do corner straight across and punch you a little detail. And then since I'm doing it for a minute, let's go ahead and get one more, in case I want to add another detail in a minute. As I'm going through this, keep in mind that everything I'm doing, we're going to end up doing twice because we're doing two cockpits, right? So, all right. So on the previous one, I put that detail here. So let's look at this. So it does go over that middle line just a little bit there. So that's just what we're going to do. Is we're just going to kind of get it here. Yeah, that'll be nice. So because of the shape, though, let's bend it a little bit this way and a little bit this way, so that's got just a little bit of shape. You see, I'm just doing it with my fingers. I'm not using a tool. Now we're going to take some super glue, and don't go all the way to the edge. You don't need to. You don't need to. And we're going to add that then. Right touching that Rexlace. Press it down nice and firm. If you like, you can always just like, yeah, and it is starting to come together, isn't it? This little detail, it's a teeny little gun thing, right? That's pretty straightforward. That is simply a toothpick trimmed down and glued right there. So let's go ahead and get that little bit of detail put on there too. So I kind of want it to be a little bit more obvious than on the previous one. So we're going to give it maybe, what is that? Well, that is an inch. So let's go ahead and give it that full inch. It is a little further back from that bottom cross line there. And I kind of like that because it gives a little bit of an obvious thing there. So we're just going to put some glue on the back end of this and put it in there. gun on the prototype is quite a bit smaller, it's not as long, and I think I'm going to instead do that piece I'd cut before, and we're just going to kind of line it up. And I think that what I'd like to do first is just kind of take a pencil in this case, and just kind of flare these tips just a little bit, and get that centerpiece just kind of a crease. That way it'll lay down there nice. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. We can glue that in place. And then, so while that's still kind of drying, I'm just taking a craft stick and improving that crease there. I think that I want to take and maybe, yeah, let's put another little detail like that there. Okay, so maybe it's time we start looking at this piece here, a riser piece for the cockpit. So that also is the same size egg as we did before, this size. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut this in half. So a quick line across there. We're just going to do our best by hand to trim it along that line. And then just take that, one half there, kind of put it back. I'll just kind of start. Oh, look, crush. Anyway, just gonna do the other side too. All right, so of course, take one complete half, set it aside to complete the other part. And then so now we take this piece, and we do want to go ahead and just bead a glue, lay this on there, and kind of get you a nice half egg that way. Alright, so the next thing we're going to need to do is this piece back here. So we're going to use the same kind of egg that we used in the front and on the top. And we're just going to cut that little piece down. And it's going to be smaller than half, but cut it in half and trim down. And then it's going to need a piece of foam core board to help stand that out there. So actually it only needs the one piece of foam core board. Doesn't need the cardboard piece there. I looked at my reference materials and it actually sits a bit tighter on that than I had done on my first one. So this is going to sit quite a bit nicer on there. It's a little bit shallower of a detail than I had originally done. I may actually need to trim a little bit more of the egg down. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, I think that's better. And then to save myself time on the next one, I'm just going to put it inside it and mark it as far so that it's easier to get it to match later. Rexlace as some of this lining. Back little piece on, start of the cockpit. We're moving at a pretty good pace here. Now, this took me a little while to figure out on the original one, because these kind of windshield pieces. And ultimately, it ended up being this, a mouthwash bottle. And it's actually only just this piece right here, this kind of knuckle. I mean, maybe even just keep that little piece of lip there. So maybe actually move that just a little bit, but you need two of those for each build you do. So doing a test fitting just now, I realized that it's actually too long. I don't need it that long. And to try to help that sit right, I have a teeny little piece of foam core board. Probably end up gluing this actually in there on assembly. But this just kind of helps. Yeah, that lifts that up just enough. I like that quite a bit. But yeah, I think that I'm going to actually need to cut off this little return So just like everything else so far, just kind of take a quick look and see where you want to start. I think maybe along the bottom first, frame that out. And then maybe a piece that comes up to the top. Just kind of frame out the canopy. Alright, so I am overall pretty pleased with the way that canopy ended up looking. I know it's kind of a shame we're not doing something with the fact that it's clear, but you know, maybe if I do another version of this video, I'll try something then. So this then, I want to sit in line with this arc, with that line, with that profile there. So that means that it's going to be hanging almost to the end here, but I need to cover the back of this now. That's ugly. And then we're just going to trim it all up nice and tight. And then I've mentioned the slope again. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Nice and clean. Straight across, and kind of dry fit, and it looks alright there. Kind of keeps that angle that I want there. So I think that, yeah, I think that's good for now. We're going to go ahead and maybe shave just a little bit there. Not a whole lot, just shave it with just a hair and see. No, actually I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna glue that on. I'm gonna call that good because that helps it hold right about where I want it. So yeah, we'll do that now. I was thinking maybe this teeny little piece of venting on the back here to help give that some good texture. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, so a couple more details. Let's just kind of see where it goes. And I kind of like the idea of maybe, let's see. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So let's do that too. And then I'm just going to crush the top part of that a little bit. And both pods on, all the same details everywhere, and then it's more or less time to start painting. Now, one thing I want to do first is drill a small hole here so I can have a wire so it can come out and be mounted. So I got the little hole there and a piece of wire, and just kind of figure out, do you want any kind of interesting dive maneuver? You want to kind of throw the wire back so it's a little less noticeable. I think I kind of like that actually. I think back a little bit's nice. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that with some baking soda and super glue. Alright, that's in there pretty nice. Now the have to be pretty low if you're going to try to use a Legion as some sort of proxy, maybe for land speeder or something, or maybe at best you could have it as high as I can add at, so it's got a little bit of height, or I mean an ATST. So actually I kind of like that. Let's do that up just that little bit. So and you can still do like an interesting like angle on it here. And then so let's go ahead and just tighten up this coil. And I've got a 3-inch disc. That's pretty nice. You can get wooden discs in various sizes. I've got a 3D printed base that's kind of in scale for Legion. You can also use all sorts of lids and poker chips, and having got one of these samples from the hardware store that cut down might be alright. In fact, that's pretty solid too. I kind of feel like that wooden one might be the one though. Yeah, I think that's the one. I'm going to take just some regular masking tape, not painter's tape, not duct tape, just masking tape. I'm going to just kind of hold that in place. Just a couple of different places with that masking tape. Now, you'll never be removing this masking tape. It stays here forever. Now we just go through and glue everywhere the wire is. We're just going to use a bunch of super glue here. And that is pretty nice. It's got a nice little dynamic angled dive kind of pose going on. And at this point we're going to move on to base coating. In this case that's going to be kind of a gray. And there's that light gray. And going to go ahead and get that orange on that now. I think that's looking pretty snazzy. It's cleaner and a little bit more specifically done than the first one here. But that's why I do a prototype. Now, as far as that color, I used this gloss enamel, Rust-Oleum, just orange. It needs to give you this perfect little cloud car orange. So I've got this clear glass color here, a little bit of purple. This came in a set I got from my mother-in-law. Just take a little bit here, not really a whole lot, and I want to take, and on the end, just that littlest bit of hint of purple, like it's been messed up by heat. I'm going to use this marker. You could use a fine tip Sharpie if you have one on hand. I do happen to have these. And we're just going to line everything. It doesn't seem to be a lot, but I promise this does help make those lines pop a little bit more crisp